Hi, Julian. How are you?
Hello there, Siddharth. Very well, thanks. Good to hear from you and see you again. It's been a while, but I always love our
Yeah,
chats.
yeah, likewise. I look forward to chatting to you on today's topics, which is about the US election, which recently happened. And what I wanted to ask you was the outcome what you expected, or were you surprised on Donald Trump winning it?
Uh, I wasn't too surprised. The first thing that did surprise me is that he won in the first place. You know, in that sense, the deep state really controls the whole of what's going on behind the scenes. And it looked like last time round, he really got, there was a red card, in my opinion, and some a kind of a foul play. So this time round, I thought they may pull some tricks again, but somehow he won. And not only that, he won practically the popular vote, which means even the people voted for him, and that was
Hmm.
beautiful. What an amazing experience to see that. A man of the people really rising to the occasion.
No, but okay, so you weren't in general surprised that he won, or were you like expecting Harris to win?
No, no, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised at all. I
Okay.
saw the momentum of the social trend closer and closer toward
Hmm.
election time. And there was obvious evidence that the popular mood was swinging towards Donald Trump. So I was pretty convinced he was going to win by the end of it. But what surprised me was the fact that the deep state didn't pull any tricks and try and
Okay, okay.
subvert the vote.
Hmm. Hmm.
They
Hmm.
basically backed off. They didn't
Hmm.
use any type of vote rigging or some psyop Antifa protest or
Hmm.
something like that. They just
Okay.
allowed the vote to go through. Joe Biden himself has even acknowledged and congratulated
Hmm.
President Trump's new president of the state. So it seems it's cut and dried, really. And so that's pretty impressive.
What issues do you think had the most significant impact on this election?
Let's see. Well, the obvious decline on the ground amongst the middle class, the economic
Hmm.
decline,
Hmm.
which was pushed by the previous democratic government's really lax standards about the wall, for example,
Hmm.
and the flooding in of migrants, the
Hmm.
decline in the economic situation. And there were a few incidents which really were the last straw, some of which were like the killing of the little Peanut the squirrel, which really upset a lot of people because of some kind of draconian measures like that. And it looks like the masses, the majority, had really had enough. And
Hmm.
so that pushed the people out to vote and to vote Republican because of the
Hmm.
decline that has been going on for so long now. I think that was one of the main issues was people really felt it in the bank balance.
Hmm.
They noticed the economic downtrend, inflation, and so on. And not only that, the war in the Middle East. There's a lot happening which really upset the masses of the people, and I think that pushed the vote for change. Basically, that seems to be what happened.
How do you feel the campaigns influenced voters on issues like the economy, healthcare, or social justice?
Yeah, that's a good point. As far as economy goes, if you watched President Trump's some of his acceptance speeches and so on, he really spent a lot of time praising Elon Musk, and I think Elon
Hmm.
Musk is going to be a real help in the economic sector or in the finance department of trimming the state basically
Hmm.
and the budget and tidying up uh,
Hmm.
and making it more efficient. The Department of Government Efficiency,
Hmm.
DOGE. That's Elon
Hmm.
Musk's, and he's also a Dogecoin,
Hmm.
owner, one of the biggest owners, and he's like the godfather of the cryptocurrency Doge. And so the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, is like a fun concept of that Elon Musk is going to come in and clean up the government
Hmm.
and make because the debt is quite large,
Hmm.
35 odd trillion in debt, and the interest even, a trillion
Hmm.
every now and again. It's
Hmm.
really unsustainable. So a big
Hmm.
change was needed, and economically, with Elon Musk coming in, how much time Trump gave him on the podium in his first speech of acceptance was amazing. It really
Mm.
shows that Musk has come into the limelight as well now. So the economic sector, I think, is going to have hopefully some improvements. What were the other ones that you mentioned there? Health and
So,
social.
yeah, healthcare and social justice.
Healthcare is well, RFK Jr. was really a powerful figure to draw a lot of the votes toward Trump in the end. And I think it's been quite a smart move for him to leave the Democrat Party, which was a sinking ship, morally
Mm.
speaking, despite his
Mm.
history with his family and really,
Mm.
upsetting a lot of his family. He switched sides, which was unheard of in previous decades, but it had
Mm.
become obvious. And that was RFK Jr. very much the health policy, make America healthy again, as opposed to the MAGA movement. And
Mm.
that was really pushed by the terrible past 4 years where we saw a lot of the pharmaceutical industry pushing things which didn't seem as healthy as they could or should be. And people realized that the pharmaceutical industry seems
Mm.
more profit based and motivated by profit above people. And RFK Jr. pushes the health element for the people by fighting them in courts, big pharma, and wins many of the cases. So I think with him on Trump's other flank, he'll have quite a powerful team which will also address the health issues and really improve the conditions, also regarding overall health in America, where there are a lot of crises, mental health and drug addiction and so on, which needs to be addressed. Uh, RFK Jr. even promised to lift some of the bans on other fringe medicines, which the West
Mm.
seemed to be clamping down on. In other words, the pharmaceutical industry, big pharma, was clamping down on natural medicines.
Mm.
And RFK Jr. will allow the return of natural medicines, including plant medicines, where a lot of research has been done, which find that that which was once taboo actually has a lot of value, including certain plant medicines from throughout the world. So that will really be very favorable for health in America in Trump's administration. As far as social justice, I think RFK Jr. will help on that regard as well. JD Vance maybe can bring in, because he's younger, a more
Mm.
contemporary understanding. Not only that, but Ivanka Trump has also been there, had the ear of President Trump regarding the social issues of the youth, as well as how
Mm.
to communicate with the youth on the campaign by
Mm.
using more youth-related social media platforms and influencers and so on. And I think Ivanka Trump has really helped on the social justice side of it, as well as her concern and uh, Melania Trump, President Trump's wife, is very vocal also on human rights, social issues
Mm.
regarding children, child abuse, child trafficking, and a lot of taboo subjects which are being exposed regarding Democrat members, for example. And so with those women at his side, Trump will really be able to make great strides on the social sector as well.
Uh, what do you think the election outcome means for the next 4 years, both domestically and internationally?
Um, Domestically, you mean for America?
Mm.
Well, Trump has already stated that he's going to continue the draining of the swamp, so to speak, because first time round he was hindered by the deep state
Mm.
to some degree, and his choice
Mm.
of who he took advice from. This time
Mm.
round, the wall, the return of the illegal immigrants, for example, deportation, that kind of thing might take place and really improve the situation for a lot of people on the ground domestically in America. As far as the economy goes, it's hard to say really. By putting tariffs on China, for example, he may try to bring industry back as he was, in the Make America Great Again movement. So we'll see how that goes. And if he's liberal on cryptocurrency and blockchain technology by firing Gary Gensler, as he has done at the head of the SEC, he will really allow technology to flood back to America, and they can become a leader, an innovative leader, and compete with China and the rest of the world, who are going to steal the show if they don't really improve on that regard. So domestically, there's a lot of room for improvement and a lot of hope under Trump's administration. Internationally, of course, it's hard to say because at the end of the day, that's really run by the deep state, and both parties in some are seen as a uni-party because behind the scenes you have those pulling the strings on the global front, who those who shall not be named, who are in behind the scenes, and so very little may change in that stance. The war conditions. Okay, there's two wars, aren't there? The Ukraine war. Trump has the ear of Putin, and he may assist in that regard. And I think that war will be scaled down under Trump's administration tremendously. So that's very hopeful on the international front. On the other front, in the Middle East, there are other factors and other people involved. So he's also obliged to some of those international players who are pushing this Middle East war. So I doubt he's going to be able to be pushed back against them quite as much as we would hope. But it remains to be seen. We'll see what happens in the Middle Eastern front internationally. Other than that, internationally, BRICS, of course, is taking over the scene, and so Trump, as part of NATO and the West, will see a degree of decline, economically and in status as a world power, as the BRICS countries rise now with a gold-backed currency and alternative payment methods, cross-border payment methods. Some of them maybe even using blockchain technology. Putin's even mining Bitcoin and going to be using Bitcoin perhaps as an alternative payment system. So the BRICS will operate so well that their systems and their currency will become quite valuable. The dollar will decline in coming years. Internationally, Trump can pull some strings, with tariffs on China and pushing industry, and he really needs to do that if he wants to stay abreast and keep up with BRICS. So let's hope he does the right things to keep America great.
In what ways do you think this administration will differ in approach from the previous one?
Well, like I say, behind the scenes, you have the deep state and other actors who might not allow quite as much change, regardless of this administration compared to the last. However, Trump is a bit of a maverick, and because he has his own financial backing, and now he has the popular backing, he's not that easy to control. And there's nothing that the deep state and the powers behind the scenes fear more, and that's a populist and the rise of the masses, the mob. So if you have that combination of the mass vote plus the charisma, he can really push back on the globalist agenda, which has been in operation for decades, which now controls the EU and a lot of the Commonwealth. And so we'll see if he has any ability to really push against those behind-the-scenes globalist players or not. In the long run, it remains to be seen.
Okay, how do you feel the election reflects current public opinion in the US?
Oh, this is the popular vote. This really reflects the public opinion hugely. This is exactly what masses of people on the ground, mainstream America, really feel, is that Trump is the solution to the crisis that they find themselves in, which was exacerbated by the previous administration. So I do think this is the people have spoken in this regard. As much as we say there's a rigging behind the scenes, this one somehow was too big to rig, and the popular vote was there. So it looks like this is a change in the tide to some degree. We can only hope that Trump, because he is taking in the advice from others like Elon Musk and RFK Jr. and so on, Vivek Ramaswamy and Tulsi Gabbard, who's a military veteran, who is also, funnily enough, the name Tulsi is a Hindu name. Although Vivek is an Indian, Tulsi was raised as a Hindu, and
Oh.
so funny enough, she was even originally raised in the Hare Krishna movement, where I did a lot of my training in my
Oh.
youth, studying Vaishnavism and Vedanta and Bhagavad Gita and Sanskrit philosophy. So the name Tulsi is a sacred plant in the Hindu culture,
Mm,
associated with Vishnu, Lakshmi,
mm,
and Vishnu. And
mm,
so her background is steeped in that, as well as having a military background. She's a rounded personality type. And so Trump has a huge entourage of good minds this time
mm,
round. And he certainly learned a lot, from the previous time round. So this man is probably one of the most powerful men that the world has seen in many years, in many decades of a
mm.
generation, of a century, because of not only who he is, his age, and his capacity, but also the people he's with, the time and history in history that he's in. So powerful things are possible in his few short years that he has left on this planet.
Do you think this election has brought the nation closer or further highlighted divisions?
It's hard to say because the mainstream media is controlled by the left wing
Mm,
as it is. So you
mm,
can't always tell by the popular narrative on mainstream media what the swell of public opinion is or not. But it looks like the masses are behind Trump, and there's only a small minority who are making a lot of noise,
mm,
controlling the mainstream media, who aren't really as
mm,
big as we think they are. So in that regard, Trump will really be able to take things forward tremendously, and he's united the people, and he has the capacity to. Uh, Although there will be some diehards and there will be opposition, and
mm,
they won't give up on their fight. And so there will always be some degree of disunity.
mm.
And there's nothing really one can do about that because even the deep state, the globalists may want to push back as well. They may use other tactics, of course. So that war will always continue. That divisive to divide and conquer is
Mm,
often the technique, the tools that they use. That
mm,
the globalists who are trying to steer countries, they divide the people from internally and try to foment uh, dissidence and so on, and opposition. And sometimes you have regime change based on those background scenes. So that'll always be there. But the masses, I think, have coalesced enough behind Trump for uh, some possible hope for the country. If it doesn't happen now, something terrible happens. It's going to be hard to replace him. But I think there are enough like J.D. Vance who can come in, young people, Tulsi Gabbard, who will thin the ranks.
mm,
Even if Trump were to die tomorrow, for example, the
mm.
movement, the MAGA movement, has enough RFK Jr. and enough people in depth of squad, if you want to call it that.
Okay,
That's how I see it.
what advice would you give the people of America who feel strongly for or against the election outcome?
Yeah, even last time round, there was a lot of uh, people who were not very happy about the election outcome, and still
Mm,
it went through. There was the J6 event where they went into Parliament, but that seems like it may have been rigged to a degree. So it went by peacefully then. It's looking like it's going through peacefully now, despite people who may not be happy about it. A lot of the opposition and the rioting is sometimes instigated. It's not the
mm,
true thought of people on the ground.
mm,
Even in this country, sometimes it just takes, you have to sometimes bust people in, to make a riot, because it's not really amongst the people on the ground themselves. Or there's only a small element that are interested in that. So I think the common sense will prevail at this stage because the guys in the reins of power now at the controls are fairly level-headed. The
mm,
Senate and the House and a lot of America's government is now unified under one party, and a lot can get done, and it can become more efficient,
mhm.
and a lot of progress can happen because there's less infighting at the government level. So I think that'll help the people and that'll pacify the people. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
Okay, my final question to you is: what do you hope the winning party prioritizes in the coming months?
They really need to fix up the mass immigration and seal the leak on the southern borders. That has already caused a lot of problems, and it was engineered by the Democrats to try and get
Mm,
mass voters in, for example.
mm,
That really needs to be addressed and patched up, and deportations of illegals, because a lot of them are fighting age young males, from all countries, all the enemies' countries. So they've allowed a lot of their enemies' soldiers in, undercover, and that could be a plot, maybe to destabilize the country going forward. So if they can try and stop that and push back, that'll help the system. And they need to change the economy. But that's such a huge fundamental change that it will take a revolution. You need to shut the Fed down. You need to close that whole thing of printing, being able to print money. It needs to
mm,
become gold-backed currency as opposed to a fiat debt-based economy. And those are fundamental changes. But with someone like Elon Musk and a president who allows visionary thinking, and with blockchain technology, there are ways that you can streamline and improve entire economies as well as entire voting systems, and therefore parliament, and therefore efficiency, by using the new technology in the right hands. So the smart people and the power in the right hands in the short term now, in the next few years, a lot can be achieved, either for good or for evil. So we've got a
mm.
chance. There's a chance for the people to have their lives improved tremendously now. So I'm hoping that something will come of it in the next before 2030 at least.
Okay, thanks so much for your time, and yeah, we'll catch up soon in the future.
All right, Siddharth, my pleasure. Go well then. Anytime. You keep me